Union partnering for development in executing the 11th EDF-B envelope state and resilience contract for rehabilitation following Hurricane Maria. And under this contract, it has been funded for the construction of 2 regional emergency shelters. We brought to live coverage of the first shelter, which was commissioned this morning in Cassie Bruce, and we are here now live to bring you the commissioning ceremony for the emergency shelter in Jimmit. The Honorable Prime Minister has just arrived and is making his way to the head table. And for this afternoon's ceremony, we have the national anthem by the Cicero Singers, the opening prayer by Monsignor Eustace Thomas, welcome and opening remarks by Ms. Joanne Commodore, who is the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security and Home Affairs, remarks by Ambassador Malgorzata, who is head of delegation of the European Union to Barbados, the Eastern Caribbean countries, OECS and CARICOM CARI Forum. We'll have remarks by the Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, who is the Minister for National Security and Home Affairs and Parliamentary Representative for the Mao constituency. And we'll have a nice little performance by the Cicero Singers, followed by the feature address by the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica and Minister of Finance. And they will have the handing over of keys by the European Union to the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica. And the vote of thanks will be done by Mr. Fitzroy Pascal, National Disaster Coordinator, which will be followed by the cutting of the ribbon to symbolize the official commissioning of this facility by His Excellency Charles A. Saver, the President of the Commonwealth of Dominica. And of course, we'll have the unveiling of the sign by the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit. And then we'll have a guided tour by Mr. Mikey Thakko, who is the project manager, NH International Caribbean Limited. And this ceremony is all part of the vision that the government of Dominica has for making Dominica the first climate resilient country in the world. And this emergency shelter is just a part of achieving that goal. And as we mentioned earlier, this shelter was funded by the European Union, who has set aside just in excess of 19 million euros towards this emergency shelter project. And we are also here. Quite a few dignitaries have made their arrival, as well as ministers of cabinet. I make observation of the Honorable Dennis Charles, Minister for Tourism. Honorable Kozia Frederick is also here, and a few other government officials have made their arrival and seated. And we are just about to make a start here this afternoon. And this emergency shelter will be able to accommodate just in excess of 500 persons over the Mao constituency for in times of disaster. And it is fully equipped with beds, with sanitation facility, internet, and it is well constructed to withstand the natural disaster elements that may come across our shores. And as I mentioned earlier, it is the goal and vision of this government to ensure that Dominica is in the best position to withstand any natural disaster going forward. We all know what we as a people experienced during Hurricane Maria, and we definitely want to be in a position where we do not have to experience that level of devastation ever again to our people now, and even to the future generations to come. So you are listening to DBS Radio, as we are here to bring you live coverage of this commissioning ceremony of the emergency shelter in Jimmit. And it is a lovely afternoon. You know, the sky continues to be blue. The sun has covered a bit with some clouds, so we have a nice cool breeze here this afternoon, so we anticipate it to be a very cool ceremony. I mean, I know some of us might say that it has been a little hotter than usual, but this afternoon we have experiencing some cool breeze, and we've just observed that Senator Kasani Laville and Honorable Oscar George have made their arrival here for the ceremony this afternoon. And this ceremony is one that commemorates all the efforts of the government in putting projects in place that will sustain and be resilient for years to come. And the Prime Minister highlighted earlier this morning in his address at Casibros that the intention is to ensure that no one is left behind, that every single Dominican is accounted for during the time of disaster, and that to ensure that the lives of the people are preserved and protected in the event of natural disasters. So this is the situation as we have it right now here at Jimmit. And as soon as the proceedings is ready to start, we will come back to continue this live coverage. So in the meantime, we will take you back to Master Control for a few words from our kind partners.
Okay. Thank you.
And we are back here live to give you coverage of the commissioning ceremony of the emergency shelter in Jimmit. And we are just about a few seconds away from making an official start, as we have now been graced with the arrival of His Excellency the President Charles A. Saver.
Please stand for the
And
arrival
we are
of His
now
Excellency Charles
going to
Savre,
make an
President
official
of the
start
Commonwealth of Dominica,
on the
and
arrival
Mrs.
of the
Savre.
President, and to proceed with the national anthem to be performed by the Cicero Singers. Once again, you're listening to DBS Radio 88.1, and to those viewing on the DBS Facebook page, to the commissioning of the regional emergency shelter in Jimmit, brought to you by the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica and the European Union, partnering for development, executing the 11th EDFB envelope state and resilience contract for rehabilitation following Hurricane Maria, the national anthem.
Of splendor, I'll through all so sweet and fair, on must surely gaze in wonder at thy gifts so rich and rare. Rivers, valleys, hills and mountains, all these gifts we do extol. Healthy land so like all fountains, giving cheer that warms the soul. Dominica, God has blessed thee with a clime benign and bright, pastures green and flowers of beauty, filling all with pure delight. And the people strong and healthy, full of godly reverence fair. May we ever seek to praise thee for these gifts so rich and rare. Come ye forward, sons and daughters of this gem beyond compare. Strive for honor, sons and daughters, to the right be firm, be fair. Toil with hearts and hands and voices, we must prosper, sound the call. in which everyone rejoices, all for each and each for all.
We'd like to invite Monsignor Eustace Thomas to lead us in prayer.
Thank you very much. Beautiful voices and wonderful lasses. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, my dear friends, God's people, since I am not canonically attached to this parish, I presume the permission of Father Franklin Coffey to be officiant at this commissioning ceremony. I thank our government for allowing me the privilege of being associated with this timely project. And I congratulate the leader of our country, Honorable Dr. Roosevelt Skerritt, for putting into practice the adage, leadership matters. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Let us pray. Almighty and eternal God, our Father, you have brought us here this afternoon to mark again the veracity and fidelity of the frequently used expression, promises made, promises kept, unfolding before our very eyes. Despite the pandemic, tough financial times, and the approaching hurricane season, we were still fortunate to be given hope, for which reason we thank you for those involved in bringing to fruition this regional emergency shelter. O friendly and generous God, we ask you to shed your light on the European Union, the Office of the National Authorizing Officer for the European Development Fund, the government of the people of Dominica, and all who are present here. Finally, we beg you to stretch your hand over this emergency shelter and those who will be using it, mindful of all your mercies and the generosity of our donors. Merciful Father, deliver us from the enemies of our country and from natural and human disasters. In Christ we pray as we place this shelter into your hands through the intercession of Mary, our Blessed Mother. Amen.
Your Excellency Charles Savre, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Mrs. Savre, Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt, Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, Minister for National Security and Home Affairs, and Parliamentary Representative for the Maho constituency, other Honorable Members of Cabinet, Your Excellency Margojata Vasilevska, Head of Delegation of the European Union to Barbados, the Eastern Caribbean countries, OECS, and CARICOM-CARIFORUM, Her Excellency Francine Barron, CEO of CREED, Ms. Joanne Commodore, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of National Security and Home Affairs, other Permanent Secretaries, Mr. Daniel Carbon, Chief of Police, Mr. Fitzroy Pascal, National Disaster Coordinator, Mr. Mikey Thakur, Project Manager, NH International Caribbean Limited, Mr. Alistair Grell, Sorrel Consulting Limited, staff of the Office of the National Authorizing Officer, Monsignor Eustace Thomas, members of the media, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is an honor to call Ms. Joanne Commodore, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security and Home Affairs, to give the welcome and open remarks.
Your Excellency Charles Savre, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Mrs. Savre, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, Minister for National Security and Home Affairs and Parliamentary Representative for the Maho constituency, other honorable members of Cabinet, Your Excellency Ambassador of the European Union to Barbados, the Eastern Caribbean countries, OECS and CARICOM, and your delegation, Her Excellency Francine Barron, CEO of CREED, fellow permanent secretaries, Chief of Police Mr. Daniel Cabon, Ms. Marjorie Carlin Roberts, National Authorizing Officer for the European Development Fund, Mr. Fitzroy Pascal and staff of the Office of Disaster Management, Mr. Mikey Thakur, Project Manager, NH International, Mr. Alistair Grell, Sorrel Consulting Limited, staff of the NAO's office, staff of the Ministry of National Security and Home Affairs, Monsignor Eustace Thomas, members of the media, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you to everyone who has joined us this afternoon, both in person and those tuned in via the various media platforms. Thank you for your patience as we started a little later than we expected. We are fortunate to be able to celebrate two very important milestones today. Earlier today, we commissioned the Casabruce Regional Emergency Shelter, and now we are commissioning the Regional Emergency Shelter here at Jimmit. These shelters represent a significant paradigm shift in the way that natural disasters will be dealt with on both a policy and physical level in the Commonwealth of Dominica. This structure, which is wonderfully resilient, is another heralding mark of Dominica's quest to become the most climate resilient country in the world, as outlined in the National Resilience Development Strategy and the Climate Resilience Recovery Plan. Consequently, the Ministry of National Security ensured that its own strategic plan was aligned with this national strategy. The Ministry of National Security and Home Affairs takes its duty to provide comprehensive disaster awareness, support, and preparedness very seriously. The lessons learned from Tropical Storm Erica and Hurricane Maria form the basis of our efforts to ensure a holistic approach to disaster risk management. Risk reduction, assessing vulnerability, and assisting in reducing that vulnerability are some of the most important elements of disaster management. Ensuring that every sector of the citizenry can be safe before, during, and after a disaster is quickly becoming part of the basic rights of a human being. The storms of the past and their aftermath have taught us the need to be proactive in our approach to disaster management. Building resilience, reducing vulnerability, and promoting proper disaster awareness are the building blocks to ensuring safer communities and to ensuring that residents of communities can begin moving towards normalcy post-disaster in a much timelier manner. Here before you today is testament to the government's proactive approach towards disaster management. Like the facility at Casabruce, this facility will improve our ability and capability to provide modern and efficient emergency shelter services that ensure the preservation of the dignity of its users, who are often the most vulnerable among us. This shelter will no doubt bring a sense of peace, comfort, and much needed respite to the Maho disaster district. I would again like to express my sincerest appreciation to the government, Honorable Blackmore, the Prime Minister, and the organizations who contributed to bringing the construction of this facility to fruition. The Minister has tirelessly championed this cause, so I know he must be very happy today. Once again, good afternoon and welcome to this commissioning. Please enjoy the proceedings.
The European Union has been and continues to remain a committed partner to the development of the Commonwealth of Dominica. Ambassador Małgorzata Wasilewska virtually presented her letters of credence to His Excellency on the 19th of December 2021. It is a pleasure to welcome Ambassador to give remarks on her inaugural visit to the Commonwealth of Dominica. Please make her feel welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Your Excellency Charles Savarin, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Mrs. Savarin, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, Minister of National Security and Home Affairs and Parliamentary Representative for the Maho constituency, and as a person with most difficult name to pronounce, may I suggest all protocols observed. I got a permission from Prime Minister to proceed in that way. So all distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you, and let me say what a huge honor it is to be here with you in person today. At this moment, I can say that I have been in Dominica for a little more than 24 hours, and for the first time since I was appointed to represent the people of the European Union in the Eastern Caribbean states and Barbados. 24 hours is not nearly enough even to grasp the reality of a country, to understand its challenges and to admire its beauty. Still, I am extremely grateful for being able to be here, to meet you all in person, to catch a glimpse through the car window at the amazing sceneries of the nature island, and to see with my own eyes the fruits of our cooperation and partnership. Like this morning in Castle Bruce, we are here in Jimmit for a handover ceremony, and I am humbled and honored by your invitation and by your hospitality. But Honorable Prime Minister, what we are handing over to you and through you to the Jimmit community is not a shelter. This shelter reflects the needs of the local community and your political will to respond to this need. This shelter was built by a Caribbean company according to locally accepted highest standards by Dominican people for Dominican people. What I'm really handing over, what we are really handing over to you and to the Jimmit community is a message from the people of Europe, a message of understanding and friendship, of support and cooperation, a message of common efforts for a common, safer future. If offering this community a reliable shelter may seem a small step towards the resilience that we all seek, we should not forget that shelters are here to help to preserve the only irreplaceable possession a person can have, their life. And as long as we live, there is hope. Coming from Poland and having known both need and fear, though not caused by nature, but by our own kind, I dare say that I understand what it is to be powerless and disarmed in front of a force that seems invincible and eternal. But we are united against it, and we managed to overcome it, and here I am, standing in front of you. That invincible and eternal force is a mere memory. I am also convinced that step by step, building gradual resilience, supporting each other, we will also overcome the destructive effects of climate change. It will take longer maybe than it took us to cause it, but that time will come, and I am certain of it. The European Union have been standing and will continue to stand together with the people of Dominica during these challenging moments. We will continue to work together for resilience and climate action through the programs we have or prepare with our regional and national partners in the Caribbean. Honorable Prime Minister, I cannot thank you enough, as well as your team, for the excellent job done under this component of our budget support program. The COVID-19 crisis did not make things easier, but still, The results are impressive and here in front of our eyes. I want to commend the efforts of all actors involved: the Office of Disaster Management, NH Construction Company, Sorrow Consultants, Ambassador Barron and the Creed team, to name but a few. Thank you. I'm also grateful to the communities of Jimmit, who have been supportive and welcoming to this project. Lastly, I would like to thank also my team and their excellent counterpart in your government, the Office of the National Authorizing Officer, and particularly to Ms. Carleen Roberts, to whose efforts and hard work we owe the results we see today. Thank you for allowing me to be part of these beautiful ceremonies and the special moments, and for the strong partnership that we have built and we will continue to build together. Thank you.
The Minister for National Security and Home Affairs and the parliamentary representative of the Maho constituency is pleased to address you at this time.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Good afternoon. Your Excellency, Charles Sovereign and Mrs. Sovereign, our Prime Minister, Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt. I also want to recognize in our mix the Senior Minister, Honorable Osprey, and Head of the Delegation of the European Union to Barbados and Eastern Caribbean countries, OECS and CARICOM. Thank you again for being in the most dynamic and beautiful constituency, the Maho constituency. I also want to recognize other cabinet colleagues, staff members of the Ministry of Home Affairs and National Security before that, and of course, in a special and particular way, we cannot forget Ms. Roberts for your leadership thus far. I also want to, in a special way, recognize all the most distinguished people here today. I saw earlier on the Permanent Secretary and also the acting Financial Secretary. I'm not sure I forgot. And of course, members of the media fraternity and people of the Maho constituency. Maho, good afternoon. I was debating, Honorable Prime Minister, with your permission, in what capacity should I speak here today? Whether I should speak in the capacity as a minister with responsibility for the time, or should it be a totally parade today? But upon reflection, oh yes, thank you very much. A very bright person. I also want to recognize Father Thomas, thank you very much for your very instructive prayer and your friendship and guidance over the years. To my family also, and to myself, God bless you. Earlier today, we were at Casibros, commissioning another facility of a similar type. Just hours later, this afternoon, we're here today in the most spectacular and fascinating constituency, the Maho constituency, and the community of Jimmit. Commissioning yet another regional shelter / resource center. Permit me at this juncture, therefore, to express my gratitude on behalf of the people of the Maho constituency and in particular Jimmit to our Prime Minister And why do I say that? When the whole idea was conceptualized to construct regional shelters in the various localities where you have a number of vulnerable communities, as a minister then I said I wanted one. The Prime Minister could have said no, put it somewhere else. But of course, recognizing the need, therefore, and one was actually placed in Jimmit. And it happens to be the biggest of the three, that is to say, Layo, Cassibrus, and the Mao constituency, Jimmit. But to say further, this facility has a national outlook also. And it also seek to assist people who actually are in similar vulnerable circumstances, like those of us from Campbell. And of course, as you know, there's a history with the Mao constituency because of the manner in which it's located. You have natural water courses traversing the heart of many communities, namely Kinfield, you have Massac, you have Belfast, in Taro, you have a ravine that is very, very dangerous when it rains heavily. And how can we forget the people of Campbell? Whenever it rains heavily, I cannot sleep at night because of the situation in Campbell. But your government is very purposeful in its planning and in its thinking. So if something were to arise by way of an adverse weather system, I can sleep with some more comfort that there will be a specific location properly designed where people who have found themselves in those circumstances can find a safe location, and that is progressive thinking. But bear with me a while, I don't want to be too long today. I was doing some reflection. And you know, as you grow older, you ponder even more. You see, age brings wisdom. That may be true sometimes. I was reflecting on the progress we have made thus far as a people. And it dawned on me that maybe we have gotten complacent to an extent, and we're taking a number of things for granted. Why do I say that? There are many of us who are part of the real universe, the real Dominica. But there are many of us who belong to an alternate universe. Why do I say that? And some of us buy into some of the stories from authors whose stories are predicated on falsehood and misinformation. One of the renditions that we hear commonly, nothing is happening in Dominica by way of disaster preparedness. Nothing is happening in Dominica on a broader social, economic landscape. Ladies and gentlemen, friends all, what is happening today before our very eyes, isn't that something? Magatanzo. Right. And that wonderful exhibit before your eyes, I call it an exhibit. Because an exhibit not only demonstrate what we have done in disaster mitigation and preparedness, but it also stands as an exhibit of the hard work the government continues to do in the continuum of development of this beautiful country. Since the passage of Hurricane Maria, we can recall that 227% of our gross domestic product was wiped away in hours. The best experts of the world said it was impossible for Dominica to have recovered in under 20 years. What was not properly estimated was firstly the leadership and the resolve of Dominicans. That is what the global community at the time did not properly estimate. 4 years thereafter, the gains that we have made, I spoke with a member of the delegation today, Your Excellency, and he said to me, for matter of fact, he gave me this time, I read it proudly. And he said to me, Mr. Minister, I'm so moved by the progress your country and your people have made over the years. This is someone who came years thereafter. And there are many of us living that reality on a daily basis who take the gains we have made for granted. 4 years after, my dear friends, this country, under the capable hands and safe hands of our Prime Minister, insofar as disaster preparedness is concerned, is stronger than ever. And that is significant, my dear friends. But there is something that we must take and put in the proper context, therefore. Yes, it takes planning to do many things. But, you know, in life, some of us want to be actors. But everyone is not blessed with that natural talent to act. You can act if you want. But it does not mean that you'll be a good actor. Also, many of us want to be leaders. It does not mean that we'll be great leaders. But the gains we have made and our ability to mobilize the requisite resources to invest in our disaster preparedness methods and to invest in other aspects of our development of the country has to be led by someone, by a Prime Minister. There can only be one Prime Minister at any one given time. And as we see the war unfolding in Ukraine, you can see how some people just emerge to the task. The leader that we have has that air of what we call gravitas that commands respect globally. And that is why we have been able to attract financing and to partner with you and to build two remarkable facilities. Dominica may be among the OECS catchment, would be one of the islands. We've purposely built regional shelters, hurricane shelters for our people. And that, in my view, tells a very serious story as our ability, insofar as our ability is concerned, to build this country, notwithstanding our limitation. So, Prime Minister, thank you very much for looking in the direction of the Mao constituency in many aspects. And I can say that those of us here can recall during the last election campaign when we spoke about the plans to construct a hurricane shelter / resource center. There were so many dissenting voices, and they were saying that would never have transpired. It is right there. And this facility is costing $18 million and will be able to house 500 people. But I am also very much elated for the other potential that may emerge, because we have a resource center component. And in my view, this resource center will be able to be used and will be very critical for empowerment activities especially to attract our young people. I'm looking forward to seeing a number of programs in vocational skills, targeting our young men to be trained in electronics, computer science, and electrical wiring and construction. That is what the Labour Party is all about, my dear friends. And this facility is there. It's up to us to make maximum use and effective use of that wonderful facility. Ladies and gentlemen, over the years, because of what we have done, we have seen an increase in emergency shelter capacity throughout the country. In 2021, the shelter capacity in this country was 7,096. Now in 2022, it's 8,200, an increase of 1,004. That is progressive development, my dear friends. I want to, on behalf of the Office of Disaster Management and Government by extension, to really commend the almost 2,000 volunteers at the various community levels working with the Office of Disaster Management. I also want to highly commend, I said so early on, because we are so prone to slides whenever you have a heavy rain. But the communication and the synergies that have been able to be established between the ODM office and, of course, the Ministry of Communication and Works, I think is a very, very striking story. And it's important to plan and to preempt the possibility of an adverse event. And that is why we have been able to pre-position with the involvement of the ministry, in particular the Minister for Public Works, equipment in a timely fashion to mitigate against any severe disaster situation. So it's a holistic approach that we're taking and to ensure that this country continues to proceed on the right track. As I try to migrate slightly into the Mao constituency as I close, and I'm thinking about the people of Campbell. And again, I want to express my gratitude, and I'm not sure I'm to Duva, sorry, to FAS, for the Prime Minister's commitment to the people of Campbell. Campbell, after Sansouve, Petit Souffre, and Guru, is one of the most vulnerable communities in Dominica. And I can recall in 2007, the Prime Minister and myself, after a very devastating disaster that transpired then, advised for the relocation of the community. And today in 2022, you're seeing, of course, a number of people are not ready to move. I want to say to you, if you go to the Labour Party manifesto, you will see this government's commitment to do just that. And I'm happy that we have begun the process of collating the relevant information so that the people of Campbell can be relocated to a safer zone. That is my commitment, and that is the commitment also of the Dominica Labour Party administration, and I'm very much grateful for that, Honorable Prime Minister. We have seen, of course, over the years a number of critical investment in the constituency. And I'm not here today to present a manifesto. I'm more or less here to actually celebrate what we've achieved thus far. Because the Mao constituency is part of a national exercise. Very soon we will see the commissioning of a brand new school, primary school in Mao. It is the only of its type in this country. There's no other school with that design in this country, costing $7.5 million in trying time. Again, our Prime Minister, thank you very much for that. We have departed from a time when an era when, of course, the last school that was built in 1970, thereabout, was funded by the Canadian government. But we have been able, through our own resources, to fund our own school. That again signals development in the right direction. We have a new health center that has actually surpassed what we had before. Health and wellness facility. And I'm here to announce, because in the many years ago, before I was born, and if I were not born yet, the Prime Minister was not born yet, because I'm older than it. Mao was part of the second health district in this country. Now that this constituency has emerged, and in the next 6 months, as you can see, people are gravitating for whatever reason towards the Mao constituency. Everybody wants to live in the Mao constituency. I'm confident by the next 6 months, we might surpass the Rosenau constituency in terms of population. So what we have seen over the years is a significant increase in the population size. And I'm happy that this government is thinking in terms of having Mao into its own health district, and that is very significant. So the days of sitting on the tents to wait for a doctor to come to Mao every 2 months, twice per month, is history. And thank you very much, Prime Minister, for that forward thinking. We have not closed our eyes on the community of Canefield. We gave a commitment, and the apartments have begun. Construction work has begun. In the first phase, again, I don't want to go out of the way, we're looking at 16 apartments, but they'll be the most spectacular apartments, because you can see the airport, the Canefield Airport. You can actually see planes landing and see this majestic view of the sea. And you're going to have single-type apartments in this development. Again, thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. Rome was not built in a day, but Rome was built. And we're moving forward in the right direction with the right government in office and the right leader. Now, in the next couple of weeks, we shall be seeing some improvement works on the Mao Main Road. Not to the extent to what you're seeing in Massac. And I know up to today I got a call from my colleague, I'm not going to call her, last night, and said that Honorable Blackmore and Castanet trying something, and I was there in Massac. But the fact of the matter is, this government is forward looking. And what is happening in Massac is a need. Because what you had was the collapsing of a culvert on the Eagle Highway, recognizing the fact that the population size in terms of density starts from Jimmit and extends into the southern part of the country. You can one is the main one of the main concreted. So that you can drive your vehicle without your vehicles getting dirty. And then I'm confident that we're going to get that. And it's a useful access road, not only for the people of Massac, but for Dominica. Because you know, traversing through Mao and Massac can be very, very difficult. And everybody knows the Massac and Wande bypass. But thank you very much, Honorable Minister for Public Works, and thank you very much, Honorable Prime Minister, who controls the money. If he says no, nothing can happen. But having said that, my dear good friends, we must not forget the 30 families who are now comfortably living in the Jimmit housing scheme. Another commitment that we made to the people of Mao, and we kept. I went there a couple of days ago on Mother's Day, and I was like a star. I said, what happened there now? Because the people appreciate the fact that we have given them peace of Dominica. My dear friends, today we are talking about a regional shelter. But this government has addressed every facet of our development as a people. And it's better to be in safe hands than to be in hands you do not know of. And today is not a political spectacle, but there are certain things that we have to just reference, and so we can take stock. So thank you very much, Honorable Prime Minister, and our partner from the European Union, Ms. Roberts, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Home Affairs, staff members of ODM, and the police for making today's activities a reality. There's no other place than Dominica. And there's a saying, make hay. If you're seeing sunlight, use the sunlight that you're seeing. And you're seeing sunlight every day because of the hard work and planning and caring of this Labour Party administration. Continue to make hay while the sun is shining, my friends. I love you, and may the good luck continue to bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Blackmore, for your passion and determination as a minister responsible for disaster management and your unwavering commitment to your constituency. We would like to call the Cicero Singers to perform for us now.
And we're standing by for a performance by the Cicero Singers. For those of you just tuning in, we just had the remarks from the Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, who expressed his gratitude to the government and the European Union for gracing his constituency with this facility of an emergency shelter. And the Cicero Singers are gearing up to deliver a performance here this afternoon as part of the commissioning ceremony for the emergency shelter right here in Jimmit. You're listening live to DBS Radio, and we are here with you step by step for this wonderful afternoon. We do apologize for the delay but we seems to be having a bit of a technical difficulty in terms of the music required for the Cicero singers to perform here this afternoon. So again, we are here, DBS Radio, bringing you live coverage of this commissioning ceremony for the emergency shelter at Jimmit, which was funded by the European Union, executing the 11th EDFB envelope state and resilience contract for rehabilitation following Hurricane Maria. Earlier today, we brought coverage of the commissioning of the facility in Cassibrus, and this is the second commissioning of a shelter here today in Jimmit. The Honorable Blackmore highlighted that this facility here in Jimmit is actually the largest of the 3 facilities that have been constructed thus far. The other 2 being located in Layu and the other in Cassibrus. And there is plans to have another emergency shelter constructed in the Kalinago territory. We heard remarks from Ms. Joanne Commodore, who the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of National Security and Home Affairs. And we're taking out the performance of the Cicero singers. And again, we have experienced some technical difficulties with the performance for the Cicero singers. We do apologize to our listeners for that. And just to give you some further information, that this facility here in Jimmit cost in excess of $22 million. And okay, so we're taking you now to the Cicero singers.
this wonderful performance. The government of the Commonwealth of Dominica remains resolute in its commitment to make the Commonwealth of Dominica, as clearly articulated by the Honorable Prime Minister, the world's first climate resilience nation. Honorable Prime Minister, please come to the podium.
Thank you very much. Let me first of all recognize our President, His Excellency Charles Savre and Mrs. Savre, Honorable Reginald Ostry, our Senior Minister, Honorable Reverend Blackmore, our Minister for National Security and Home Affairs and Member of Parliament for the Maho constituency, my Honorable Cabinet colleagues, Your Excellency Madam Vasilevska, Head of Delegation of the European Union to Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. We're very happy to have you here and your delegation at such a wonderful ceremony, or two wonderful ceremonies today. Ladies and gentlemen, friends all, and in a particular way, the wonderful people of the Maho constituency. For me, it's always a pleasure to be here in this constituency, a constituency that I have the greatest admiration and love for. I want to extend good afternoon to all of you here present, and in a very special way to welcome Your Excellency or the Ambassador once again, and of course this time to Jimmit, a very vibrant residential community located on the west coast of our island. Jimmit, though, is the base for our country's disaster management, with the Office of Disaster Management, ODM, located here, as well as a newly erected structure to house the Met Office. The ODM is also the headquarters for the National Emergency Planning Organization, NEPO. Today, we officially commissioned a new facility in Jimmit, which will enhance our disaster mitigation and management efforts at both the community and national levels. This climate resilient emergency shelter is built at a cost of over $18 million and was planned to support our recovery and rehabilitation efforts in the aftermath of Hurricane Maria. And just to tell you that this structure has about just over 18,000 square footage covered, and it has a capacity in terms of water storage of 130,000 gallons. And it has a massive generator that can not only power this building, but power many parts of Jimmit as well. And so the intention there, and of course, you have showers for men and women, you have a massive kitchen, and a storage to store food supplies. And the intention is not for us to wait when a storm happens to run to get food and water. It will be fully stocked in the event of a disaster hitting us. You know, the reality is, if we had this building there in 2017, I would have sought shelter at this building. You know? So this is what we speak about when we talk about the emergency shelter. And so we're very grateful for this investment. And it aims to advance our goals to build back better following the devastating impact of the hurricane on every facet of our country's infrastructure, and to aid in our disaster risk reduction and preparedness initiatives. More specifically, the regional hurricane shelters are furthering our country's stated objective to develop smart infrastructure and processes to make us the world's first climate resilient country in the world. Climate resilient hazards we are aware are intensifying the world over, but more so in our region, where our location and small economies make us particularly vulnerable. In my first address to the world in the immediate aftermath of Hurricane Maria, I spoke to the disproportionate consequences for developing countries like ours, who do not bear the same responsibility for creating the climate crisis we currently face. 5 years after Maria, I maintain the conviction that climate action must become a priority concern for our more developed counterparts, who must consider the significant economic, social, and environmental consequences for small states like ours with limited capacity for effective mitigation and adaptation. I will say to all of us here present that the European Union understands this and has been at the forefront of advocating the need for action where climate change is concerned. And we're very grateful for that moral support which you provide to us every single opportunity. And so, dear ladies and gentlemen, despite our disadvantages in Dominica, we are not leaving our fate up to chance. Since 2017, we have taken decisive action to realize our vision to build resilience within key sectors, with support from local stakeholders, as well as regional and international agencies and organizations, such as the European Union. Your Excellency, the Ambassador, I take this opportunity to put on record our profound gratitude to the European Union for responding to our need for resilient shelter to serve our communities and ensure that our people are better equipped to respond to natural hazards. The investment in the two facilities we commissioned today is significant, totaling over 33 million EC dollars. And so this is a huge investment and a huge contribution given to us by the European Union. Monies otherwise we'll have to loan to build this facility. At least 500 people of Jimmit and the neighboring communities now have access to a place of safety in the event of severe weather, which poses an immediate threat to their lives. Certainly, it enhances our capacity at the community level to manage current and future risk. It also falls in line with the goals of Dominica's Disaster Risk Reduction, DRR, framework to improve operational readiness at our shelters, strengthen shelter management systems, and improve on the capacity of vulnerable groups to address hazard impacts. The DRR also speaks to shelter and housing interventions to assist the vulnerable and the marginal. Across Dominica, we have seen the erection of resilient modern housing structures based on our belief that in the dynamic Dominica we are creating, all our people must have access to safe shelter. We're keeping true to our promise of 5,000 resilient homes for the people of Dominica, because we do not ever want our citizens to revisit the despair which resulted from displacement and homelessness after Hurricane Maria. We expect, however, that extreme weather events will continue to place great pressure on our efforts to keep our citizens safe and build a sustainable future for our children. To address the challenges associated with climate change, the government of Dominica has created a new broad framework which provides the guidelines for the achievement of our development goals in tandem with our resilience objectives by 2030. We have set out to enhance infrastructure resilience, promote sustainable human settlements and communities, and provide adequate and sustainable social protection systems with the ability to respond rapidly to the impact of shocks at the household and individual levels. To achieve our vision for a climate resilient future, we have invited the public and private sectors, civil society organizations, and our development partners to align their support with a singular national direction. And with the establishment of the Climate Resilience Execution Agency for Dominica CRID, we are implementing key capital projects and initiatives which are critical to building our national climate resilient infrastructure. Of course, I cannot speak of resilience without mentioning the work ongoing in the Roseau Valley to capitalize on our rich geothermal energy resources. Over the medium to long term, this will increase our country's self-reliance in the provision of electricity to households, businesses, and communities. Our climate-related policies and programs, therefore, are broad and far-reaching, targeting every sector of our society and aiming to positively impact every Dominican person. We are building on the foundation of sustainability we promised in December 2019 and increasing resilience in our communities to shocks, stresses, and uncertainty associated with climate change. The Jimmit Regional Emergency Center is aligned with these broad objectives to protect our citizens and secure a more hopeful future. We are keeping our word to the Dominican people. We are raising the bar for climate resilient action in our country and region, and I dare say indeed the wider world. This journey demands the resolve of every Dominican citizen, including those of you from this community who will benefit from this new emergency center. You must also shoulder some of the responsibility for advancing our climate resilience agenda. You can do this in small individual ways. Start by protecting this facility. Identify the best and most effective ways to make use of the amenities here to empower people, enhance their skills and create opportunities for personal and professional advancement. Once again, I thank the European Union for its support of our programs and initiatives which span various areas, including agriculture, climate action, and disaster risk reduction. I would like at this moment to invite all of us, with the exception of our dear ambassador, to stand and to applaud the European Union for its contribution to our country. Thank you very much. Madam Ambassador, what we give to you is sincerity as a friend, and a friend that you can count on when needed by the European Union. And Dominica remains committed to our relationship and advancing the national interests of the European Union. We give you that assurance. This is why we have been very consistent with our position on the Russia-Ukraine matter. We believe in peace, we believe in respect for integrity and sovereign integrity and territorial integrity of every country. And we do hope that we can see an end to this current crisis confronting Europe and indeed the world. So, Your Excellency, please accept the assurances of our highest regard as a people and government. And please convey the same to your colleagues at the European Union. Before I end, I also wish to commend the efforts of the National Authorizing Office, led by Ms. Carlin Roberts, for the expert coordination of these two projects. And of course, the Ministry of National Security, led by our dear Minister, Honorable Reverend Blackmore, for its collaboration and support. I also want to recognize the quality of work by NH on these two facilities, and of course to Sorrel and others who provided the services, engineering services and oversight to this project. It's really amazing. And those of us who knew this place before it was constructed, I remember coming here with all sorts of challenges we experienced in the digging of the foundation and the challenges, and we were able to overcome those challenges because of the excellent coordination by all parties concerned. So where there is a will, there is a way. And we need to have this intrinsic enthusiasm and commitment to diligence in our country. so that we can achieve great things for ourselves and for future generations. And so I want to congratulate the people of Jimmit and the surrounding communities on the commissioning of this new facility. It is for you we have done it. And so we urge that you take care of it, and we urge that we use it. We use it throughout the year, not only during the hurricane season, we use it throughout the year to enrich the community. And so, ladies and gentlemen, in the coming days, I will speak with the Dominican people in greater detail about our level of preparedness as the start of the hurricane season approaches. Let us pray for God's protection, and intensify our efforts at the individual and community levels to protect life and property in the event of disaster. And again, want to reiterate our profound, sincere gratitude to the European Union for this gift. We have a Christian and moral obligation to show gratitude for blessings received. And I want to say to us here in Dominica that notwithstanding the majority of the European states, of developed states, they all have challenges too. And I'm sure that they could have found use for these funds in their own countries. But recognizing their commitment to ensuring that the global community can be given opportunity to enhance its prospects for its own independence and economic well-being and social well-being, they have been able to reach out to us in Dominica. And so I would like to say, as I've said, some naming of this building so that current and future generations can be reminded of the contribution of the European Union to us here in Dominica, and to always say thank you to the European Union. And so, madam, if we had riches, we would have given you some of it. But all we have here in Dominica is love. And we give you, and it is the greatest gift of all. You know, so, and it is worth more than money in the bank. And so we give you all our love here in Dominica. And please convey this to our friends across the Atlantic. May God bless us here in Jimmit and in Dominica. May God bless our wonderful country, Dominica. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for your sterling leadership and support in advancing our national resilience agenda. Thank you so much, sir. At this time, we would like to invite the ambassador to symbolically hand over the keys of this facility.
This morning. I think I stand on the other side, so it's different from this morning.
Okay.
And you are tuned in to DBS Radio, live coverage of the commissioning of the regional shelter in Jimmit. And right now, the ambassador to the European Union has symbolically handed over the keys to the Honorable Prime Minister and the parliamentary representative for the Mao constituency for this regional shelter facility here in Jimmit. And the Honorable Reuben Blackmore is seeking to fit this very huge key into his pocket, you know. A little humor in this proceedings here this afternoon. And we are now at the vote of thanks to be delivered by Mr. Fitzroy Pascal, the National Disaster Coordinator.
thank you, Your Excellency, and Mrs. Savre, for gracing us with your presence at the two events today. Additionally, we would like to give a small token of appreciation to Ambassador
That's the beauty.
I would like to now call Mr. Fitzroy Pascal, National Disaster Coordinator, to give the vote of thanks.
Your Excellency Charles Savre, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Mrs. Savre, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Honorable Reginald Austri, Senior Minister and Minister for Housing, Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, Minister for National Security and Home Affairs, and Parliamentary Representative for the Mau constituency, other Honorable Members of Cabinet, Your Excellency Malgorzata Wazuldiska, Head of Delegation of the European Union to Barbados, the Eastern Caribbean countries, OECS, CARICOM, CARIFORUM, and her delegation, Her Excellency Francine Baron, CEO of CREED, Ms. Karen Prévost, Cabinet Secretary, Ms. Joanne Commodore, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of National Security and Home Affairs, other Permanent Secretaries, Mr. Daniel Carbon, Chief of Police, Ms. Marjorie Carlin Roberts, National Authorizing Officer for the European Development Fund, Mr. Mickey Fakor, NH International, Mr. Alistair Grell, Sorrel Consulting Limited, staff of the NAO, staff of the ODM and the Ministry of National Security and Home Affairs, Monsignor Eustace Thomas, members of the media, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Effective implementation of disaster risk reduction measures reduces the impact of hazards and saves lives. The commissioning of this regional emergency shelter at Jimmit is another major milestone for the disaster management system of Dominica. Indeed, I am honored to be afforded the opportunity to be part of this momentous occasion this afternoon. One cannot help but feel a sense of accomplishment when the hard work of all collaborating partners has come to fruition. It is even more heartwarming to know that this facility will provide the people of Jimmit and environs, including vulnerable persons, to the means of shelter in dignity. I would like to thank everyone here today for their contributions and dedication to making this project a reality. Allow me to thank in a special way the illustrious Cicero singers for their splendid performances this afternoon. Thanks to Monsignor Eustace Thomas for offering prayers and blessings for this event. Thanks to the President of Dominica, His Excellency Charles Savre and Mrs. Savre for taking time to support this occasion. Thanks to the Permanent Secretary of the National Security and Home Affairs, Ms. Joanne Commodore, for her welcome remarks, for providing astute guidance to the ODM as beneficiaries of this project. A very special thank you to the donor, the European Union, for funding this major project. Thank you, Madam Ambassador, for capturing the vision and partnering with Dominica on the journey to building resilience. I must also thank the Minister for National Security and Home Affairs, the Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, who is also responsible for disaster management, for his leadership and support for the project. A heartfelt appreciation to the Prime Minister, the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, and the Dominica government as a whole for the unwavering commitment in delivering on the promise of building more resilient shelters across Dominica. Thanks to the members of the Technical Committee, NAO, Sorrel Consulting, CREED, NH, the ODM, and the Ministry of National Security for their commitment to this project. Users of these shelters are expected to do all they can to maintain the facility both during emergencies as well as during peacetime. You have a key role to play in ensuring that this regional shelter will serve this area for many years to come. Again, thank you to all for your support and for your attendance here today to this Handover Ceremony. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pascal. At this time, I would like to invite His Excellency, the President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Honorable Prime Minister to cut the ribbon and to unveil the sign of the facility. After this has taken place, there will be a guided tour by NH International for the dignitaries at the head table and the cabinet ministers and other invited guests.
And we have come to the formal end to the ceremony of the commissioning of the regional shelter here in Jimmit. Right now, we just heard the vote of thanks done by Mr. Fitzroy Pascal, National Disaster Coordinator. We now have in the Honorable Prime Minister and His Excellency Charles Savre proceeding to the entrance of the facility to give the symbolic cutting of the ribbon, which will symbolize the official commissioning of this building here in Jimmit. And you have been listening to DBS Radio, and we had this ceremony here this afternoon with the national anthem being performed by the Cicero Singers, the opening prayer by Monsignor Eustace Thomas, welcome remarks by Ms. Joanne Commodore, who is the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security and Home Affairs. We had remarks from the Ambassador to the UN, the Eastern Caribbean countries, OECS and CARICOM. We had remarks from the Honorable Rayburn Blackmore, the Minister for National Security and Home Affairs and Parliamentary Representative for the Maho constituency. We had a performance by the Cicero Singers, and we have just witnessed the Honorable Prime Minister cutting the ribbon and is now proceeding into the facility for a guided tour. This facility has four floors which houses sanitary facilities as well as accommodation for 500 persons for the Mao constituency in times of natural disasters. And this facility is not just designated for Dominica, but in the event that our sister and brother islands of the Caribbean are faced with some sort of devastation in their own countries, we have the capacity and the ability to house their citizens who are vulnerable in times of natural disaster. So, and this is what the Prime Minister was talking about today in establishing Dominica as the model for climate resilience in the world, and his bold declaration way back in 2019 of declaring the Dominica as the first climate resilient country of the world. The Honorable Prime Minister delivered the feature address here this afternoon, and then we had the handing over of the keys by the Ambassador to the Honorable Prime Minister and the Parliamentary Representative for Maho, the vote of thanks, and we just witnessed the cutting of the ribbon and the unveiling of the sign. And again, this is another tremendous achievement for the government of Dominica, the people of Dominica, as Dominica now stands in the position to serve as a model to the other Caribbean islands as it relates to climate resilience. We can say confidently that the other islands can take a page from our book, in preparing their own islands for climate resilience in the future. And the facility will also be utilized not just as a shelter but also as a resource center for the constituency. Currently, this is one of the 3 facilities that have been constructed thus far, the other 2 being in Layo and Cassibrus. And this facility will be accommodating for the areas of Campbell, Kinfield, Maho, Massac, Tararu, Belfast, and of course Jimmit. And this facility has been valued a little over $20 million in construction, and it is one of the initiatives in establishing Dominica as the first climate resilient country by 2030. And the Prime Minister also emphasized that it will take not just government but all stakeholders and the citizens to align with that vision of climate resiliency for Dominica. And we have quite a bit of the supporters here as well this afternoon endorsing this facility, supporting the initiative and everything that it is that the government is doing to achieve climate resilience. And we are just about less than a week away from the official start of the hurricane season. So you can well understand that the commissioning of these facilities are timely, and there is a national disaster preparedness plan to which the Prime Minister indicated that he'll be speaking on that in more detail in the coming days as we prepare for the hurricane season. And we want to say thank you to you, the listeners of DBS Radio, and to those viewing on the DBS Facebook page for staying tuned and logged in with us here this afternoon. And of course, we are the Nation Station. We continue to follow us, continue to tune in with us as we continue to inform and educate you, the public, on everything happening here in our beautiful country of Dominica. So this brings us to the end of this broadcast of the commissioning of the regional shelter here in Jimmit. And on behalf of our technical team, Dean Thomas and Aaron Wilshire, my name is James Rodney, and we say good evening to you, and taking you back now to Master Control for the DBS Evening News.